The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord
Jesus Christ. Just want to thank you, Richard, and everyone for organizing this first Gold Mass. We already have red, white, and blue masses in our diocese. It sounds patriotic, but white is for the medical profession, red is for the legal profession, blue is for first responders, gold is for obviously those involved in science, technology, and engineering. G.K. Chesterton famously said, the church looks in all directions at once. I love that. And in these days of Advent, we can ponder what that means in light of the whole Christ event. So this holy season in preparation for Christmas invites us to look to the past, to the incarnation of Christ 2,000 years ago, that moment when the eternal Son of God descended into our humanity, where God stepped into human history to save us, to break the ancient curse of sin and death. It's the very center point of our faith. Church also invites us to look to the future. So this past Sunday, the gospel was on the end of the world and the second coming of Christ. That at the end of time, there will be this consummation of history, and evil and death will be defeated in an absolute way. And then Christ will hand his kingdom over to the Father. So we stand between those first and second comings of the Lord, those advents. But St. Bernard exhorted us in the office of readings this past week to contemplate a third advent. And he beautifully articulates how in the sacrament of the present moment, Christ is made manifest to us. So we also look to the present moment for the revelation of Christ, for the fullness of the Lord within us. So church looks in all directions at once. But another way to contemplate that 360-degree vision that the church has is to realize the church also looks at every aspect of authentic humanity, so that church has always taken an interest in economics, in politics, in the arts, in architecture, in engineering, in medicine, in the law, in science, that anything authentically human is going to find resonance in the heart of the church. Because anything that realizes our humanity and makes us more fully human by that fact is also going to lead us into the fullness of our identity as children of God. And so the church's vision is always this breathtaking universality that incorporates everything. I went to Marquette University for my undergrad, and I studied philosophy, theology, and history. And it was a beautiful combination. I was blessed to have a lot of philosophy professors who were at the tail end of their careers. They had been classically trained as Thomists, and I felt like I just caught the final proclamation of their wisdom before they passed on. But what always struck me as an undergrad was something that we studied intensively in one particular history class would be talked about in a philosophy class that I was taking the next semester. Or something that we dealt with in theology would find resonance in a philosophy class that I had taken last semester. And that coherence of truth led me to realize that the truth is one reality, that it's not dichotomized, that just like a beautiful diamond that has multiple facets, we can turn and contemplate in wonder the dazzling different aspects of truth. And again, everything authentically human finds resonance and life in that truth. Who is a person, of course, Jesus. This weekend marks the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. And it's fascinating to me how both the tragedy of the fire almost 5 years ago the rebuilding and now the opening of Notre Dame really captures the imagination and attention of the entire world. That despite all of our secularization, all of our division of truth, all of our denial of ultimate truth, that there's still a resonance in the human heart for a jewel like Notre Dame. And of course, Notre Dame is ultimately a cathedral, a church, a center point of worship for Paris, for France, but indeed for the world. But think of all the different aspects of human knowledge that went into the construction of this jewel. Certainly art, but also engineering, architecture, philosophy, ultimately, of course, theology. That in this dazzling church we see the unity of human wisdom employed to create this beautiful space for the worship of God. So really it was only in the Enlightenment and then the French Revolution and ultimately the sexual revolution as well that the truth got atomized, that it got pulled apart, that there was set up somehow this artificial conflict or argument between science and faith, as if the two are not completely unified in the truth of God. And so science can tell us what is. Science can help us analyze reality and matter. Technology and engineering can help us take that matter and do remarkable things. But in the end, neither science nor technology nor engineering can tell us why anything is. It can't tell us the meaning of it. Science can't get at the beautiful realities of our human experience, of love and of mercy, of suffering. It can't explain to us the mystery of death, can't ultimately speak to us of transcendence properly understood. But science can employ its wisdom to bring us to that unity of truth. And so the church has never been against science. And when you read the emergence of science, most of the early scientists were priests or members of religious orders. And the whole idea of a university, of course, came from the church. So we need, certainly, holy priests and religious and married couples and families, but we also need holy scientists, holy engineers, sanctified professors, people who are experts and professionals in their fields, of course, but ultimately see the cohesion of how what their profession proclaims and teaches fits into and is integrated into the whole. And only faith can do that for us. So the readings today were taken from the memorial of St. Albert, who in many ways is a perfect example of the fusion of science and faith. Whenever a confirmation student chooses St. Albert for his confirmation name, I always know that he's interested in science, and that's always confirmed when I ask him. So religion is not the science, or religion is not the enemy of science, but its greatest friend and guarantor. So I just pray for all of you that in your respective fields of study and of teaching and of profession, that you are being called by God to be a living exemplar of that integration of truth, and to realize that all of truth is radically one, and that God is truth.